Okay, always an exciting day, kind of a finish line of a lot of work, and really pleased kind of where we landed today. It's one piece of the puzzle of putting your roster together, but it's really an important one, no doubt. And because you can build your team throughout the year now, but obviously, signing day in regards to high school, it's an important part. A couple things just overall about this class that we like a lot. Heavy dose kind of on this inside out approach, right? It's 7 from the state of Michigan, 2 from Ohio, 1 from Illinois. The others outside of that region across the country, from California all the way over to Maryland. I think the reoccurring theme, you look at these guys are coming from quality programs, a lot of winners in this class, thinking about state championships, played in the state championship game, playing this weekend in the state championship. I think there's value with that, guys that have spent their experience in high school at a program that values doing things right and winning at a high level. A couple of these guys we like is that there were senior evals. They went out and had big time senior years, and we continued to work and track that, and we were able to land a couple guys like that. 11 of them will be here early in January, so more than half. So anxious to get started with them in less than a month. And so with that, there's a lot of work done. I wanted to say a few thank yous. One, the coaching staff for sure. There's a lot of asking them to take another step in evaluation and relationship building, trying to dig deeply into that. The coaching staff really worked really hard on that. Our recruiting staff, our recruiting department, scouring, watching tapes, finding angles. There's a lot that goes into this recruiting side of things. I want to thank Spartan Nation NIL. We all know the landscape as it's going. That was a vital part, not just of this recruiting class, but then you think about retaining your roster, and then the transfer portals opening up in next week. Spartan Nation NIL was a huge part of as we continue to build this program, and so. Wasn't going to go individually about each guy. Hopefully, get asked to be able to talk about them. But again, it's a balance. You look at offense to defense, some needs, and some areas where we feel awesome about them growing. Whether we're talking the secondary, wanted multiple guys there. Quarterback, the running back room, feel really good about both those guys. Line of scrimmage players. So it was a well-rounded class. With that, fire away.
Jonathan, can you take us through the process with Jace in terms of getting him to change his mind and what those conversations were when they took place, and what was sort of the sales pitch?
Yeah, I think it was, you just keep competing. All of us felt really confident that our place was a great fit for him. And not just because he is a couple of miles away from the campus, the relationships we built, learning him, his personality type, his attributes, his family, that we got a chance to do that over a long period of time. And so you just keep competing, and then all the way till the end, and really reassuring, re-echoing some messages that where we're headed with this program, how he fits, how he's got an opportunity to be a legacy at this place. And then at the end of the day, I think they made a great choice.
Jonathan, you always talk about the landscape changing. I'm always intrigued when NIL plays a role. How much of this going forward is going to be your focus on development that you talk about a lot, but having to be open to the influence that NIL has?
Well, I think we're open to the influence that it has, because it does have a part. Again, identification on the qualities of the people we're trying to bring in the building. Think of a pie chart. NIL is a piece of that pie, without question. But there are also other factors that we want guys to have importance of school, of being a teammate. Obviously, their talent level and the fit of location in the locker room and things. And NIL is a part of those conversations, and it's not going away.
Hey, Jonathan, with the elimination of the national letter of intent, I was wondering just how procedurally that impacts and makes things different, since they still sign a financial aid agreement, but I guess retaining them once they enroll, they're really locked in. But just kind of how much different does that make the process? Yeah,
there's some legalities that make it a little bit different. The process of like what took place today, documents came in, that was all kind of the same. This day and age, that they get a month. We're still counting on and pretty confident. All 11 guys that we expect to be here in January to be here. but it's a little bit different than a true letter of intent that it's been in the past.
In terms of Jace Clarizio, I don't know much how you've seen him live. He's very fast, doesn't have great size. Do you see him as an immediate impact guy, or is he a special teams guy that has to grow into that position, or how can you project him here if you
Yeah,
can?
watching him, getting to know him, yeah, immediately opportunity to impact us on the offense. I do think he's got a skill set to be on special teams, but arriving in January, get him into spring practice, first couple of months acclimated, learning the scheme, getting in the weight room, all of that, and then we'll start spring ball in March. And he'll get an opportunity to kind of showcase where he's at. But yeah, we see him, really, the approach with every freshman that'll come in here, we're going to give them an opportunity to play if they are ready to play and go, and Jace will be one of those guys.
Jonathan, right here. A good chunk of your class committed over the summer, and you guys were able to hold on to them, a good 6-7 months or more in some cases. What was sort of the original pitch to some of those guys early on in the summer before you guys had played a game to buy into their vision? And did that have to evolve at all later in the season when you're trying to add more guys and retain those guys originally once the season starts playing out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think the pitch or the selling points totally changed, right? What we talked about in June in regards to what this place can be, how we're going to go about it in regards to development on and off the field, competitively in practice, in the weight room, all of that stayed the same. I do think we talked to the guys in June and just forecasting. We're going into year one. Year one, sometimes there's some bumps in the road and all of that. I think that helped as the season went on because we did have a few bumps in the road. Later guys that maybe committed later toward the scene, some of it they could see it on TV, on the team, the way they competed and things, and then they saw some opportunity that they wanted to be a part of that. And so some of those conversations were a little bit different than maybe June.
Jonathan, is there someone you look at in this class and say, wow, he could help us now, he's that mature, that ready? And if someone does not come in January, how big of a disadvantage does that put them at?
Right. I don't think it's as big as maybe it looks, call it on paper, in regards to coming in the summer versus in January. Depending on maybe the position, I think that'd be kind of tough at quarterback to be coming in the summer and doing it. But it's easy. It's tough to point out a single one, but I think a couple of guys right off the Aiden West, I think, has an opportunity to impact the thing pretty early on in his career. Derek Simmons at the line of scrimmage, where his bodies is at, coming at the mid-year opportunity. There again, all 11 guys will get these opportunities. I'm kind of anxious to see Leo throw the ball around. He's really playing really well. At the start of his senior year, ran into an injury that kind of got him sidelined there, but I'm anxious to kind of see him healthy and throw it.
Jonathan, you mentioned Aiden West. I was wondering when you lose a cornerbacks coach, how you're able to retain some of those guys when you're talking about relationships, and then as far as Demetrius is concerned, just thoughts on him leaving and where you go from there.
Yeah, appreciate the year of work Coach Meat gave us. Came back, did some good things. I think that decision for him came a lot down to like family and the location of work and getting closer to some aspects for his life. Aiden West being an example, he had a great relationship with Coach Meat, but we do try as a staff to have multiple relationships, not just the position coach. And I think it's important for recruits to choose places more than just their position coach, because how things can change. And I think Aiden took a holistic look at everything that we got going on and still feel really good about it.
So you have 11 coming in January. How many are you signing today? What's the number?
I think it's 18.
18
I think where we
today?
landed. Yeah.
Really, these projection questions we asked, in the new landscape of college football, you don't have 3- and 4-year projects anymore, right? Most of these guys got to contribute right away or they're going to transfer, right?
Yeah, but the landscape is, again, it goes down, not every guy is not into, development and working. And again, these guys are excited about coming to work and going. The landscape does, it's always a moving target, manage your roster. I mean, I don't know another way to say it, just even this month of how much movement, where it could go, back in the day, 2-3 years ago, you say, well, we're going to be losing these 3 receivers. We got to replace 3 receivers. And you just don't know because it's going to be a moving target. Some of that try to get an idea. I'll just tell you a little bit what we're doing this week because we're not on the road. It's dead in regards to recruitment. We're meeting with every guy on our roster to get a feel a little bit on where they're at with things, but also talk about how they can improve their game. And those conversations are taking place this week.
Jonathan, I know obviously next year, there could be the revenue sharing that's starting with next year's, starting in July. You've got potential scholarship changes. Like, are you recruiting on the 85 scholarship assumption, or are you recruiting on a different number? And then with understanding that the world of NIL could change, some of it in-house, some of it outside and all that, how is that a basis on what you're able to offer now?
Yeah, we are operating off an 85 scholarship number. We feel confident that the roster size is going to go to 105, but that number, 105, and currently my understanding is it'll be in August, maybe even late August, to get to that number. We are definitely having conversations on the revenue share side, and that kickstarted in July 1, and that being a part of, again, the piece of the pie as they're making decisions and things. And then I go back, Spartan Nation, NIL, huge, and they need to continue to be through the January to that July 1 timeline. And so all of that in regards to packages that we're discussing in recruiting and retaining our roster are going on.
And on your left, so you've brought up the inside-out approach. Jace is right there in your backyard.
Yeah.
So like, just how big is it to just kind of establish your footprint and land a guy like that with someone that's in state, like right
Yeah,
there?
it's big, right? You want momentum. I think that there's just value for guys that play in this state, high school football in this state, to be able to stay home, play in front of family and friends right here. I think there's some value for their college experience of them. A lot of these guys have, call it younger brother, younger sister. They've got games going on, so they can go to college, have a big-time experience, but also be active in the life of them, their younger siblings. Access to be able to run home on weekends to mom and dad and bring some buddies. All of that is and good. And again, back to Jace, yeah, high profile, highly recruited. For him to turn down a couple really good options, to know that his best fit is here, adds to our confidence in what we're building here.
Coach, how crucial was Blue Adams' role these past couple days without Coach Meek?
Yeah, he's been crucial throughout, but yeah, important, and it's unsettling when a position coach leaves. I'm thinking more about the current roster maybe than the recruiting side, but Blue is a connector. He connects with guys not just in the secondary, but throughout the team, and he's been vitally important, and he was important I'm really excited about the DBs with 4 of them coming in. He was huge in recruiting those guys.
Jonathan, get into the weeds a little bit just a second ago, referring to Jace, not only winning and recruiting someone out of your backyard, but the elephant in the room was that he was committed to a major program in Alabama, national championships in recent years. You've always been humble, but what does that say about where this program is going, that you can compete in that type of situation to get this kind of outcome specifically?
Yeah, I think it shows we can compete at the highest level. A couple of these guys had really high-profile options, and we were able to have them choose us and then believe in us. And so I think it shows a great direction of where we're headed. I'll say this a little bit, though. We are going to make our own evaluation, too. And so we like guys, whether they're highly sought after, but also like guys that have great senior years and continue to work and fit us. So we want to be able to compete at the highest level and also trust deeply our own evaluation.
Jonathan, I was wondering, do you expect, I know obviously things are fluid when you're recruiting the portal as well, but do you expect any to remain active in this 2025 class with the February signing period?
Potentially, yeah. I'm definitely not going to have 18 run up in here in February, but yeah, you're always trying to build your roster 365, and if there's continue to be a few high school players out there that fit us, yeah, we won't be shy to do that in February.
Jonathan, you had 3 players from Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I think that was a school that you visited early on, soon after you got the job. What's it been like to get in there, meet those people, begin to recruit, get 3 commitments, watch them win a state championship, all those things. And can you comment about those 3 players?
Yeah, it was awesome to follow their season and to finish it off like that with the championship. And again, from the get-go, you talked about it early. It might have been the first day on the road recruiting going through that school, and some really good players and good people. Jaden Savory, the tight end, really athletic. He was here in the summer, even on 7-on-7. You could see it flashing. Good family as well. Won't dive deep into it, but two good ones that way. Enjoying that, and a younger sister's a really good basketball player. And then DJ, he's been a huge help in recruiting this class. Getting connected with the other players, physical, athletic, can run. Excited about him, and he's great family setup.
Jonathan, you mentioned the 2 players from Orchard Lake St. Mary's, but there's another name that is still out there that
Yep.
can be recruited. How many players are you guessing you could add to this group? And philosophically, would you rather have half preps, half portal, more preps, more portal?
Yeah, I think philosophically, just where this landscape continues to go, it's probably going to be closer to this 50-50 mark. I think early on, still like the idea of majority high school, and you supplement through the portal. But just as this landscape, and with so much movement and player freedom to move, I think. Again, we're not going to just have to get to 50-50, but I just think that might be a reality.
When you compare this to the firestorm of a year ago,
Yeah.
you had just been named, you're trying to put together a staff and find a house and recruit and catch up. How much easier was this when you don't have to call coaches and recruits and say, hi, I'm Jonathan Smith, and by the way, I'm the new coach here?
Yeah. It was definitely less stressful because we just had more time, much more aware of the roster, let's face it, aware of the strengths of the place and what we've got building. I will say a year ago, I look back on the thing, we're pretty proud of the work we got done. And I think about some of these guys we got in the portal last year that turned into really contributors a big way. Jordan Turner, K-Ron, Lynch Adams, Nakai Martinez, Wayne Matthews, obviously Aiden Jack, Tanner Miller, Luke Newman, Steady Eddie, and a big-time player. Ed Woods played meaningful time for us. And so that goes back to a little bit of the confidence moving forward. We're headed into another month, and there's going to be some movement on everybody's roster across the country. But with our approach, I think we can do another nice job in the portal this next month.
Jonathan, I was asking before about the roster size, and you said at 105. I'm wondering, that obviously would be the same scholarships as walk-ons. Do you plan to still use walk-ons with that and have 85 scholarships, or is that something you're still sorting out?
Currently, yes, 85 scholarships, up to 20 walk-ons.
That's where your head is.
Currently.
You brought up the sort of thanking Spartan Nation NIL repeatedly here, and you do hear coaches asking, sometimes in your shoes, like imploring for more help and all this stuff. And it's a weird situation with outsiders sort of paying for a roster. I'm wondering, do you feel right now that you have the resources you need adequately as they stand to retain a roster and then to recruit the guys you need to get the team where you want it?
You kind of mentioned, I think it was weird, you're talking about outsiders to help to, retain the roster and things. And I think that's why it'll be a big thing, July 1, when it begins this idea of revenue sharing and things like that. I think we want to be in a constant state of improvement across our program, coaches, players, and then outside, Spartan Nation NIL continue to improve. It makes a big difference. But confident, like I said, in our approach as we continue to improve to be able to compete at the highest level in recruiting over the next 6 months.
Talked about Leo a little bit, but what stood out with him and why was he a good fit?
Loves football. That stood out right off the top. Going to the high school, and he wants to sit down and talk skiing. He wants to get on the board and all of that. We actually had identified a relationship with him early on, all the way back to Oregon State. So that jumps out that he loves talking ball, wants to know about it, and I think that's important out of a quarterback. And then, yes, his natural skill set of passing the thing. He's not just a thrower of the ball, he's a passer of the ball. Strong arm, athletic, good sized and all that, but he's a good passer of it.
Hey, Jonathan, I got a couple of things for you. The linebacker, Leonard, I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but...
Ayu, yeah.
Ayu,
Yeah.
okay. Sort of what's his story, a bit of an older guy, and how do you keep in touch with a guy like that where, I mean, you guys had the past relationship, just how'd that come about?
That was a big part of it. It was the past relationship because, again, it was a couple of years ago, recruiting them at Oregon State. They came and visited that place and built a relationship there. Awesome experience for him to go on a mission, which he'll complete. I think it's the end of March, early April, and he'll be back. Was able to stay in touch mostly through the family. Just FaceTime with the parents about leading up to Thanksgiving. You talk about good people. These guys. It was a Sunday before Thanksgiving. They're having their Thanksgiving dinner on that Sunday because what they do on Thanksgiving is really have a meal for all others in the community and things. And so that relationship, Coach Suanoa, deeply in that one. We're excited to have him.
Real quick, where was the mission? And is there any, like, I don't know if concerns about, like, Russ football? Like, has he been
Sure.
doing football things for a couple
Yeah,
of years? Like,
I believe it's in Samoa is where he's at on a mission. And without question, and we know these, and we've had guys come back from Mormon missions that, yeah, it's going to take a little bit, and like he's moving around. But he gets back here in April. He has a full summer of training. We feel great that he'll be able to get in shape.
And then the other thing I was originally going to ask is when you talk about Demetrius leaving, will that be sort of how much will Joe Rossi lead that, being his side of the ball, and how much will you delegate or collaborate there? What will that
Definitely
look like?
collaboration. Joe heavily involved, that defensive staff, without a doubt. And I just take those decisions, they're important in things. And so we've got a lot to sell. We've got a lot of interest, high profile, call them resumes that are interested in the job. We'll find the right fit. But definitely me and Joe conversating about that one.
I'm curious about the two Dakota kids, Damari Malone, Justin Bell. What do you like about them, and do you see yourself kind of, accessing that Dakota pipeline more?
Yep, Damari, athletic. Football means a ton to him, too. Physical brand of ball, good family again. Justin really did a nice job in our camp in the summer. He has good size and that, but we were able to kind of more or less work him out. And he did great with that. Again, I like the idea of a couple of guys in the state pipelines, sure, moving forward, but also for the family setup of them being able to spend their college career at this place.
Yeah, can you talk about Braylon Collier, wide receiver? Looks like he's a really excellent leaper and catch
Production,
radius.
yep. You look at it, even the year he's having the production, natural hands, can run. I think he's skilled for a high school player in route running. Another kid that's coming from a big-time place, huge championship game for him this weekend. Been committed for a while. Another quality family, getting to know them. They've been out here a bunch, 2 games during the fall, helping us recruit.
And you touched into Ohio to get him. What are your initial 1 year into it, your thoughts about as you've gone through Ohio a little bit?
Quality football, quality coaching in Ohio and Michigan, both those states. I mean, the high school football there's a lot of players there. There's a lot of well-run programs in the state. So we want to continue to build those relationships with high school coaches. There's good football players, and we want probably next year, hopefully we're talking about more than just one.
Jonathan, obviously you, like all these guys, the recruiting service is not quite so favorable to it. How important are the stars when you look at 3 stars, 4 stars? And how tough is it to try to win a conference championship in the current environment without a top 30 class?
Yeah, I'm not here to say stars don't mean anything at all. Again, I go back to, we will trust our evaluations and whatnot, and there's some 4-star, 5-star column that, yeah, we would love to have, we think fit, and we would like to get a few more of those, but if they truly fit our place. The landscape of how it's continuing to go, roster retention, I don't know if it's as vital to win a championship, just in regards because you can add to your roster in different ways than maybe in years past on the portal. It's still important. I'm not here to say like 4 or 5 stars are a bunch of good players, but not all of them, and not all of them fit our place. And we've got a couple of them. We'll see what it looks like in a couple years.
Jonathan, as you've had a few days to sort of, you've got a lot going, but to digest the season, I should say, and look back at where things are and what you need. I guess what are your thoughts reflecting on the first season a little bit, and sort of your vision for what you think you need and where to be more competitive quickly?
Well, yeah, we got to get better. I am optimistic with some of the young talent that is currently on the roster. I think about, Aiden and watching his development as a first year as a starter, and really statistically on the back half of the season, he improved. Just you could blatantly see it on paper, let alone watching it on the tape. I think he's got some guys around him that are younger, and we got some good young talent around him on the perimeter and things. We got to take a step at the line of scrimmage. And again, we got a couple players that have a chance to be back and get better. We got some young talent that needs to continue to work, and then we got to add to that position. You flip it on the other side, same thing. We got some young talent that got some meaningful reps, especially in the back end, and those guys taking a step will be important. So I got some confidence. Again, this is a big month to add. If we can have our hit rate like we did last year, and then the current guys, young talent, or maybe guys headed into their last year, we all got to take a step and improve. Include the coaches in that, right? First year, going through the experience, right, of the schematics and that. That's some of the part I love the most. It's the football side, schematically, how we're developing and going. We got to take a step as coaches too.
Kind of going off that, what kind of message do you want to send with this class when you consider, where you want to be as a program?
Yeah, we count on, this is part of the recruiting process with this class. We do feel like, first year laying a foundation, we want to be a place of ascension, and these guys are going to contribute to that in a big way.
Jonathan, as you're going through your evaluations or exit meetings or whatever, I was wondering if you have any guys who have eligibility left that are going, like a guy like Nate Carter who did the senior day thing, but he's got a year. Just anybody that fits in that category?
Yeah, I kind of leave this. Nate stands out as one. Is like his timeline on letting people know his decision and things. He got a lot to weigh there, and some of those meetings we haven't finished. The end of this week and next, but I don't have any announcement on a guy.
Jonathan, maybe I'll start with this. How important, when you talk about this era, coming and going, trying to retain guys, how much more important is that in the part of evaluating the character and the mindset, that type of stuff? How much more important is that, I guess, and how difficult is that just in general?
I think it's an important attribute to have in this landscape. I told our team yesterday at a team meeting of just because of all of this landscape of potential movement, or I could do this, or who's staying, who's going, how much is he getting paid, who's not paying, all of this. It's an atmosphere that can create some doubt, create some just uncertainty. It can create a little bit of flattering, right? Oh, it's such and such school, contact me, all of that. So I do think the middle makeup is important, and is probably more important than it ever has been.
I guess sort of tying that into my second part here. After the game the other night, Aiden mentioned some stuff about needing to weed some guys out and making sure everyone's sort of aligned in the locker room and everything. That was kind of the first time we'd heard some stuff like that, I guess. Had you detected that late in the season? Did you agree, I guess, with his comments, or had you heard him, I guess, first of all, just where things stand with that?
Yeah, I think that was immediate after a tough loss and a tough end to a tough season. He's got high standards. He's competitive in those things, and I think there's probably some truth to we want to get this thing in a better place, which I'm really confident we can next year. I'd say better place record-wise, and he wants to be a part of that, and I think he kind of owned himself as well as time to stepping up. He's been a leader in that room, but we had a ton on the previous year, and we got a ton that have the potential to be retained on the leadership side.
Jonathan, getting back to California with Drew Nichols.
Yeah.
Maybe a guy that you had been with back at Oregon State. Tell me about what you liked about him, what Jim Mahalchik liked about him. Looks like he's a guy with some mobility to fit into your zone schemes and so forth.
Yeah, that was his first thing I would say, kind of mobility, athleticism, identified early. Does have some connections to the area with the family, and so we've had a long relationship. Another one that had, talk about a program out in Southern California, but winning, and is about the championship level type program that, good kid, loves football, and is athletic, and has family ties to the Midwest out this way.
Jonathan, when you think about the college football playoff now, 4 Big Ten teams seem to be locked into it, to the 12. and you go out recruiting and you're a member of the Big Ten Conference, how much easier does that make it for you? And how daunting is it to know you're swimming in some shark-infested waters?
Yeah, I think it's a huge benefit to be in the Big Ten Conference, to be able to compete at the highest level. We talk about this in conversations because, like, the Big Ten, you look at these 18 teams and how competitive it is, the quality of player, the quality of coach, schematics, the fan bases, like, that's what you want to be a part of. We sell it in regards to wanting to compete at the highest level, and you got the opportunity to do it right here in Michigan State in the Big Ten.
Jonathan, I know you may want to be careful with this, but when you look back to Saturday, I know it was miserable weather. And I know the game didn't have real high stakes generally, other than what for you it did. It was a bad optic to have so many empty seats. How much did that concern you as you move forward, and is that part of what you're trying to repair here?
Well, yeah, we're working to get people in the seats. You want people, excited about what the product is and where we're headed and all of that. Understand it was Thanksgiving weekend. It was, cold and all of that. So I wasn't panicking. It was another piece of motivation. You look around and where the game ended, how many people are in the seats, which I'll appreciate everybody who stayed to the end. But I'm using that as a motivator of how fulfilling it's going to be when this place is packed again and we're playing for our 11th, 12th win.
All right, good question. Getting back to recruits, Cal Thrush, a guy that I think might have been listed as a defensive end earlier. He's put on as he's grown to be an older young man. Is that a guy that might be moving inside? What do you see from him?
I think he has the growth potential to do it. When he arrives, we'll make that call exactly. But I think the growth potential that keeps his athleticism and his grit and physicality. Could be he might play multiple, play a little inside, play a little outside at the line of scrimmage, and get in the backfield. It really his mentality. You watch it on tape, how physical he is, how hard he plays. We love that, let alone the physical attributes that he has, size and strength.